Hey Stefan, Jeff here. You put up a post. This is the follow up to our lock lunch Dallas last week. I'm trying to remember here, um, where we were kind of bringing about selling and stuff, and I mentioned something about we're selling in the industry, and then we could train a lot of people actually out of the field to do it and to do it, and I guess this this is gonna be a fun debate. Um, and then you mentioned in your post here about is it the selling techniques or is the industry expertise that's necessary, and is it about trust and credibility and all that? Um, I think it's all of it, um, and 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 I've seen it done in different ways, and and I've done it in different ways too, and I think the one thing I would say is the selling. When I was mentioning selling, when I was talking about doing the cold calling and everything, there are different phases in the selling process, um, and it's all needed because if you don't do the early parts, you don't get to the final part where you get to really pitch it hard. So, so you to be able to pitch with the credibility and all this stuff, you got to get through the earlier phases, and it's not always, and those are time consuming ones. So that doesn't always happen at the high level. Um, and and so what I would say is, and I've seen this happen, and it actually can work, and it actually does. I think it has to be done, and there's a certain way you can do that. You can be really, you can optimize the people's use of their skills, and how to do it, but still sell more, because a lot of it you still got to sell more. I always tell a lot of the market where we're still focusing on, how much the piece of the pie we can have rather than we need to sell more pies, and I want to sell more pies. That's what I want to do. So but good pies. Okay, I'm saying good pies, and there are different flavors, different parts of pies too. So if I'm selling MT, if I'm selling pure translation services with with just TM and translation management system stuff, that's one approach. Okay, if I'm going to be selling MT without post editing, that's another approach. And if I'm going to be selling MT with different levels of post editing, that's another approach. So it kind of depends. Okay. And I can do all of them. And my goal is always meet what the customer wants, um, regardless of what I think the customer wants, because sometimes they have a certain thing that I need to adjust my offer to, especially for non-budgeted content. And there's a whole, not everything's budgeted, so they don't have budget for it. So you have to deal with the non-budgeted too, and how you deal with that. Um, and certain types of content, like internal, if you're just doing draft translation for stuff like internal purposes for content gisting, you don't have to have perfect. You don't have to have far from perfect. You just have to, there's certain needs where you don't have to have that. So it's not, doesn't warrant having a good paid price. But there are a lot of stuff that warrants to have a good paid price, right? So it's all about purpose. But I think that it can be done, and I think a good a way to approach this is to, for me doing all that cold calling. Like I said, I was doing 20 cold calls per day, and that's 8,000 cold calls in 20 months, plus the letters per day, letters, not emails. That's still necessary. Um, it just depends who does it, right? So, but it's still necessary to still do the marketing stuff, because if you don't do that, you don't make the pitches, don't make the phone calls, it doesn't matter, because in the end you won't be able to sell it if you haven't done all your upfront stuff, which is, that's still part of the sales process. Um, but how you distribute those tasks is another thing. So, and I did learn a lot from that. I learned a lot. It was really helpful. It's painful, but it's really helpful. Very painful, but it's really helpful. And then you learn how to optimize that. I think that a lot of the lead generation or demand generation, depending on how you want to call that, and I distinguish between the two. Demand generation for me would be repeat business stuff, and new lead generation stuff that you just haven't had contacts yet. So there's two different, for me, that's two different things. That can still be done by junior folks and even students, and you can train them how to do it. You can train them, but you can train them how to do it to get the lead, to get the pitch in the first round of the telephone calling and the telemarketing and all that stuff, or the for somehow or actually sometimes even in like in not just in telephone. You can do this like in going to conferences or going to salons, expos, and all kind of stuff to get the first level of interest. I think that it's possible to train. I've seen even people in psychology and economics and history. I mean, it's possible to train the younger folks to do this, and they can do pretty well, because you can teach them all the kind of things they need to know to be able to say it, to get that first level, to kind of filter out the stuff that you want to filter. What you're doing is filtering out the stuff that they're not interested. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get to the folks that really want it. So that's right. So that's the kind of the key thing here is why you're doing it. And the goal is to not waste time on people that you don't want to waste time on, because that ends up we are having is when you as an expert now, as you and me kind of people, if we're calling people and wasting the time of people that don't even want it, it's just it's a waste of our time too, right? So it's trying to weed out the stuff and find out who has the need. And you can train people, the young folks, even that are not in the language, don't have much experience language, how to do this at the first level. And I think there's a couple levels to do that. Then, when you start getting to like the technology stack, what are your content management systems and all the pre-sales aspects of it, that's another skill. And I've done a lot of that, and I can do a lot of that too. I can walk and start drawing diagrams over their entire IT system and stuff, and I just that's easy for me to do. Whatever, I just want to know. Now I want to know if it's speech, I want to know if it's text, I want to know if it's content management systems, I want to know if it's dynamic databases stuff. I can do that because I got the IT background too, so that's okay. That's another skill, and not all salespeople can do that. Even expert salespeople can't always do that part. So you got to bring in another person to do that. I usually just do the whole thing, so that's not a problem. But that's a lot of expertise in a thing, the whole thing. So that requires another skill, and you can have younger generation that are good IT folks to have a background of, some computer science background or something, or database background to do that. So it's possible to do that and have them do that. You don't have to have the VP come in every single time, for database thing. You can have, junior pre-sales folks doing this. It's possible. So I think that's another skill that's important in the whole thing of depending what you're offering here. If you're offering a full set of technologies on top of, the services. So the kind of depends what you're doing. And I'm used to selling all kinds of, the whole thing, everything from, authoring memory and authoring kind of stuff tools to terminology management to machine translation and post editing and different levels of that, and translation memories and tools and products, and localization, visual localization, and medical device translation, and SOX translation too, which includes back translation for regulatory affairs. And you kind of see that I cover just a lot of different stuff, including a lot of technologies on top of that. And then you add all the services, the TEP on top of it, plus, and 3 levels. Sometimes you do 1 level, sometimes you don't. It kind of depends what the need is. And then adding in, there's customer support, depending if it's integration with certain types of other systems, and then add in the speech stuff, because I can add in the speech kind of stuff for speech translation, and the speech translation, you can, interpretation, you get different levels, types of interpretation. Is that the person doing it? Is it consecutive or simultaneous? And are you going to do this or you can actually do, subtitling, or you can do this subtitling with a transcriber, with a manual kind of, with certain kind of keyboard stuff or keystroke stuff. Or are they going to do this redubbing, their voiceover, or redubbing second level voiceover, the speech to text, or if they're going to be the speech to text and doing replay stuff. I mean, the whole shebang here. I mean, kind of depends. I have to kind of do all this stuff, and it's going to depend on what I'm going to do and what level I'm going to have to do it at. And if I can have some junior folks, even students, handling all the prospecting and all the filtering out of the people, weeding out of the stuff that the people don't want it, that allows me to focus more of my energy on the people that have the interest, and then I'll be able to pitch it at that point. And I think that's the thing, because the waste of time is when you're really spending tons of time just trying to figure out where the bites are, where the fish are, and that's part of this process. It's part of it. It's the whole thing. you know, and people with a really experience, they're best when you get down to the end. You're getting down to you're finding, well, not the end, but you're getting to the point where you find a really interesting part, and they have a need. And now you gotta want to dig down it. You want to start to, figure that out, and with an RP or not. It's just those, but it takes a while to, and it depends how established you are too, and what your market is. And I was hitting like 25 markets. I was spreading the whole thing. So, um, and and some of the other factors too, like I don't have I do have it. Yeah, I got it here. I'm gonna pull it out. Wow. So I got this. I got my business cards here. I got my old business cards. This is cool. I actually pull this out and use this from time to time. But kind of depending on what the thing is. So on my, yeah, this is my old business card. These are my new ones. These are old ones. I actually don't have a business card where I'm at now. I haven't had one for 14 years. I can't believe it. So this is like this is the old. Okay, this is 14 years ago. But see that nice little thing that says there in the front on the top, my name. I didn't have doctor in front of it. See, I didn't put doctor in front of it. I could have, but I didn't put it there. But it says I'm an ISO 9000 certified auditor. You know that on a business sales card, that is a gold mine. A gold mine, I'll tell you. But that kind of thing. And here's another business card you got idea. This has the ISO 9 with this. Got we're ISO 9000 certified by the BSI stuff, and so that thing. And it kind of depends what's in your business card, right? And the other one, here's my old gold business. It says PhD, that kind of stuff. That kind of depends, sometimes what it is. So the credibility, can sometimes not just be the language part. It could be the other, that ISO 9000 thing. The credibility there is, I'm going into enterprise sales situations, right? And they're certified. So the credibility is like, bam, it doesn't matter if I get language experience or not. This is like, wow, we got a person that knows development process auditing here. I mean, I can come in and audit their entire process. See, this is just proof. This is the kind of stuff where, this kind of thing where you can scare people saying that they can be, they can be audited and like remove their certification. Not doing that, but the auditing thing has a very heavy, it's a very advantage thing. And I've come in when I came into conference, and I talked to user conference the first week of the conference. Okay, the first week of a user conference for the provider, and all my colleagues can give demos and stuff. And I just came out and pulled up my business card, said, there was the other one, but I said, I'm an ISO 9000 certified auditor, and all you customers, users, that's all you need to know. And that's all they need to know. And they said that afterwards. So that speaks depending. Now, if I'm talking to a bunch of little startups, that won't matter. But the big players, yeah, that makes a big difference. That's credibility, And the fact that I am able to do all the diagrams and the IT charts and all the the landscape and all that, kind of figure out with their whole landscape of what they got, the dynamic databases and the static databases and content management, the APIs pulling that. I can draw all this up, that brings credibility. I don't need the extra person to do it, but it would help to have another person there to kind of do it. But that costs more money, right? So, and so it the credibility isn't always language industry. You know what I mean? The language knowledge. There's other stuff too, and it depends on what kind of package you're offering. Okay, so and what kind of solution you're offering, and if it's not complex, then it's not. But when you're starting getting to deal with, I have come into situations where I'll be honest, I've come to situations where I've been brought in as kind of a secondary person to help on a situation of where there's another salesperson dealing with the thing, and they want to have some MT, machine translation, post editing, with a whole workflow kind of stuff that the customer had figured out, and they said, we want this. And the salesperson, yeah, we'll do that, and I come in and say, no, we won't. No, we won't. I contradicted my colleague because my colleague had no idea, just no idea about what it was. I had to do it. That wasn't such an easy situation, but I had to convince my colleague to stop trying to pitch this thing because it was going to go nowhere. It was going to shoot us down. And I had to tell the customer, it wasn't the customer. The customer was an intermediary on top of it. The intermediary said, we had done this demo, this thing, and we looked at demo, and I said, who, and um, and the credibility. This is where credibility comes in place. Is I remember that situation very clearly. That they're shutting this whole workflow, and I just said, this is not possible. And they said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. And they said, yes, it is. And I said, no, it's not. and I said, I have actually talked with all of the R&D directors of all of the major machine translation companies in the past 2 days, of which I have worked at several of them as pretty important roles. And they have all confirmed with me in the last day that what you're asking for won't be around for 5 to 10 years. Okay. That was kind of an embarrassing statement to have to make to a customer, right? And they said, you can't say this to us. I said, yes, I can. And then I had to say to them, do you know who you're talking to? I said, I have looked you all up in LinkedIn. I have studied you out, and I know who you are. I know what you know. But have you looked at my LinkedIn profile? Have you even tried? Because if you don't know who you're talking to, then we can finish this conversation right now, and I'll let you go run into a train wreck. Okay, I'll let you go I'll let you do a train wreck, and I'll go work on the things that people do know who they're talking with on this topic. That set the scene. Talk about credibility. I just dropped an atom bomb on them in a customer meeting. It calmed things down. They weren't happy at first, but they realized that they were, I said, I don't want you to screw yourselves over here. Because whoever's telling you that you can do this, you let me see a demo and I'll pick it apart. And they let me see the demo and I picked it apart. Okay. And I said, this is they're just selling a slime here. No way. I'm not going to touch this one. No way. I said, I can tell you what, it's not going to work. And I did. So I actually convinced them not to do what they wanted, that they thought they wanted. And that was credibility. So that was where it really comes into play, and that could have solved that. And they actually made a decision not to go in that direction and do the different service way, which is better for them. Okay, that was the advantage of the whole thing. But what they could have done, I could have done a different way if they were willing to listen to the other way to do it. But that would have cost more money and a lot of customized money. Whereas this other company sold them something that would be easy, and it would have been totally mess. So this is the credibility thing. It's when you get to those level of discussions where the expertise is really key. But for using me to do, cold calling all the time and writing the letters all the time and doing all the lead generation all the time, I don't think that's good. But it was good experience to do it. It's good. I think it's really good experience to do for a while too, because then you really begin to feel how your pitches have to be quick and stuff, and they have to be. And when you have to do it, like in a conference, or not in a conference, but like in an expo and stuff, you have to do your pitch really quick. You got to get really good at it. And sometimes the pitching of the knowledge and the stuff isn't the same thing as pitching the quick stuff to weed out the folks that don't need it. So kind of depends. So there's no answer to it perfect. There's no perfect flow, but it just works whatever. It depends on how much you have to. What are your quotas per year too, and per quarter? I think there's a lot to play into that, and kind of customers you're aiming for, and if it's existing relations, or if it's brand new business, and the customer, you don't know the customer at all, and they don't know about translation and localization, all that kind of stuff. That's a whole other thing. And they're new to the ball game too. That is a whole thing. Whereas if you're dealing with people that you've dealt with before, that's a whole other thing. Or referrals, that kind of stuff, that all helps too. But I've had to come in and just establish an entire new office with no existing referrals, and on the French market, which is not as easy the Anglophone market. So there's a whole lot of that to play in, so this, there's just a whole This kind of thing where there's no perfect answer. There's no one size fits all, but it kind of depends. And each kind of company and have to kind of figure out what they want to position themselves in this whole thing, and then do it, and then figure out how to have how many resources to kind of do the certain roles. Um, and if they want to do all the, how they want to do lead generation is people can do it different ways, but cold calling works, and letters do work. Um, Not always, and COVID's kind of a new situation too. So it all kind of depends. But so yeah, this is a great topic, and I think this is something that everyone can benefit from. And I hope that that everyone's contributing, that we're all willing to contribute and share how we do things, as much as we can. And I'm willing to share more, just because I'm not doing it anymore. You know what I mean? I give a lot of sales pitches, and I give a lot of sales methods to colleagues at work. Both to R&D as well, to R&D, how to pitch their ideas, pitch their for headcount, pitch for people to do time resource and things. But I also help the pre-sales and the salespeople on pitching as well, for sales and solutions, for non-language stuff, industry stuff, financial software, whatever. Um, the techniques and methods are useful and adaptable, and all that. But it all kind of depends on what you're trying to pitch. You know, how the complex the solution, the service with the package and the solution is, and what it is. So yeah, this is but if we're this is great when we're all able to, willing to give, and to share. And I'm willing to give and share a lot more, just because, right, along these lines, because it's I'm not having to do this on a daily basis anymore. Not right now. Maybe I'll have to do it again. Okay, I'll have to start reusing some. No, that's not true. I'm doing it, but in different ways. I'm more of an enabling right now, or enabling role, to make it, to help others do it. So it's kind of like a coach in doing that to others, and it works. I'm really glad. I've been able to help a lot of people to be able to quickly learn the pitching. It took a lot of mindset paradigm shift here. Took some of them some paradigm shift time to kind of, because they still want to do it. I said, no, that won't work. If you do that, you're going to lose your prospect if you do it that long. If you just talking about that detail, it won't work. So I have to teach them to actually say less. Actually, it's kind of contrary to why I'm doing all these videos. But the videos, we're digging into stuff. Yeah, we're digging into deep stuff. This is the meat, okay? But when you have to do the pitching stuff, and you got like 4 minutes, if you get between 4 and 8 minutes to do it, or you have 30 seconds. So I teach them how to do it. I make them do it in 30 to 60 seconds. Then we work on after you get that down, then we get them to work on the 4 minute one. And we have to work on a 4 to 8 minute one, depending on what it is. And the goal is to win the pitch and win the jury over, to get them to the next level. And that's tons of fun. I'm telling you, this is a lot of fun. And I'm working with people I've never sold before. It's just their R&D and support folks, and this is really exciting to see them actually get it, and then pitch it. But they've customized it themselves. Okay, I teach them to customize it for themselves. I don't give them spoon-fed stuff. I teach them some stuff, make them do it, and then I make them repeat it, and I make them work on it. And I'm very, very harsh on the noting, glory hitting, bam, 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 bam. You got to get no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. And when I teach them to kind of let them customize, I give them the things, show by example, and then finally get them to. I said, now I want you to take it. I want you to think about it. Come back tomorrow, and I want you to do it to me. And then we're going to do it. And it gets really fun where they're finally getting it to. They found where it fits there. They've adapted what they want to give their pitch. And we kind of work on the format, and I try to get them to have no PowerPoints, trying to get them there. It's all gestures, no PowerPoints, kind of like I'm stuff in here, just visual. I teach them how to use napkins, okay, and a certain amount of rules that are kind of these things that you can see my videos and stuff in my pitching videos and all that, to teach them to not depend on PowerPoints, right? And to be able to explain things with their hands and visuals and stuff, and when they can, and objects. And it works. It just works. And you can teach anybody to do that at that level, depending. Okay, but they have to know their subject at that point in time. They have to know their thing, and that's where I can't do it for them, because they know their topic really, really well. I learn the topic as they're doing it, and I help them modify it just enough to, and I'll come back with an idea. Here's how I do it, you think. But then I don't know all the details of the percentages and stuff that they know by heart, on the coverage of the spread, the things that they've been doing all the work on. So I give them enough of it so that they can actually, I give them an idea how I do it with a few percentages and things I know that they're giving me. And then I get them to do it themselves, and then they insert the things that they feel is the right thing to say, and it's really cool to see that people do it. And when I see them actually give presentations, give the pitch and win it, and then the jury and the deciders say that was an excellent pitch compared to all the others. They're just, this is just wonderful. And then when I see these colleagues then take it the next step and go share it of how they did the pitching method, explain the pitching method by using the pitching method. This is just like, wow, I'm just this is fun. So it can be done, but there's a bit of techniques, but you have to know the knowledge, okay? So to get it to the next level and get to the final level of the pitch, not the 30-second phone call, but the one that's going to make the deciding factor. And you got to study the people you're going to be doing to. There are a lot of people coming in, they have no idea who they're talking to. They're just going to come and start pitching people. The wrong thing. You got to qualify your leads, and you got to know who you're pitching to and study them out before you get to them, because you got to know everything you know about them to be able to influence them, right? So that's kind of stuff that there's a whole thing behind it. Boy, this video is going longer than I thought it was going to go, but this is what it's about. It's a lot of the stuff in sales techniques is. Some people just, I've had to, deal with some people that say, no, you can't say that about me. Say you don't know anything about selling. Some people say, oh, you can't say that about that person. I say, yeah, I can, because that's how you do it. Sales strategy is actually figure out who's got the decision in it and figure out who they are and all that. So there are, it's when you deal with people that don't know this, and they're comms people or whatever, and they think they know this stuff, but they're not even, trained in this at all. It's clear that they don't know how to pitch, and how to influence, because they're trying to just pitch something to someone else without thinking who they're pitching to, and that's going to flop. So I've told people, even on my own stuff, I said, don't pitch it for me, because you'll screw it up. You'll screw it up. I've told people, I said, you let me pitch it, because I'll pitch it the way they'll need to pitch for that person, because I studied the person out. And they're kind of like, well, you can't say that. And I said, yes, I can. And I said, don't pitch it. I don't want you touching my topic, okay? Because you'll mess it up, and it'll make it worse. And then the person won't. I said, if you don't pitch this other way, well, I don't want to do it. And I drop it, I say, I'll go pitch it elsewhere. I just do that. And this is the expertise. And I think these are the things that this is going to be able to work on for the younger generation that are coming in and doing that. And there are lots of little tips and tricks, and that's why I make all these little videos. I'm trying to make all these shorter videos to show the pieces of the puzzle, the little pieces you can do. But like, I want to make this, I would love to be able to make these videos where I can chop them, but they're really small, like one lesson little thing, so that when you're doing the pitch, you're learning one lesson, you're going to practice that per day for the day. And then you're going to do the next part, and you're going to one lesson. Yeah, I want to get to that point. It's just I'm trying to dissect all this pitching stuff into little pieces, and then do it one and make it into a modular form. It needs a little bit of effort, a little bit more effort I've had over the past few weeks. But so I'm trying to share it first, and then allow it to happen. So thanks for even spending time listening to this. These are kind of videos you have to listen to them at 1.5 speed. Even 1.75. I'm not sure how fast it goes at 2 speed, because that's probably really fast, but maybe it work, but these are I'm glad to be able to share it and share what has worked and share what has not worked. I've had a lot of things that have not worked too. And I've learned from them. It's been a very good experience, and I'm glad to be able to do that when I can. As much as I can, as much as I feel that I can. So thanks everybody, and have a great day and stay safe.